Hello and welcome to this COMP6259 Advanced Game Design and Development video from the University of Southampton. My name is Tom, I am one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm joined today by...
Me! I'm Bob Remington and I'm one of the demonstrators on the course.
And me! I'm Dan, I'm also a demonstrator.
And I'm Dave, I'm one of the lecturers on the course.
Excellent. So for this video we're going to be going through some more of our students' coursework. For this coursework we asked them to create a small game prototype with two of the three following key technologies. Either a novel AI, procedural generation, or local multiplayer. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first game. First game for this match is Toy Tank Tussle.
I love the name, it's great.
The name's great, the music's great, title screen,
Not so great.
it's fine.
So
what have we got? We've got how to play, make your way through maze, defeat boss.
Cool.
So this one has controller support, so we're playing this with controllers. So
Okay.
left stick, right stick, trigger, shop, triangle to shop. We don't have a triangle, we'll make do. And then we have different power-ups, which are how many times the bullets bounce. So a lot of this front-loaded,
okay.
but let's jump into it.
At least it's here, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's also a secret debug mode, hopefully we don't need it. But,
Super secret debug mode.
So
I'm in.
which one's
So
blue?
play one, so
I'm
two.
in. Yep.
So who's blue and who's red?
I am blue.
And I'm red.
It sounded like it was... Is it a collaborative game? Or can you shoot each other?
What-
We
Yes.
haven't been told.
What do you
but
think?
It turns out, if you get shot.
Collaborative game.
With fire, the best kind of collaborative.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no.
The world's slowest moving tank rounds.
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
one of the upgrades I think is speed, and I would very much like to find that upgrade.
Although, yeah, so this is one that we saw pretty regularly in the lab, so we saw its development evolve, and that was actually one of the things we talked about, and that's a deliberate choice. They
Yeah.
like they
Oh.
wanted it to be more
You
like
I hit the
to
corner.
avoid-
Yeah, I hit the corner of me.
strategic,
Oops.
tactical,
We should
like thinking.
Hence
Yeah.
one shot kill.
Exactly.
Yeah, we genuinely discussed where I was like the sort of speed of it can in some ways be almost feel a bit dreamlike, and they said maybe yes, but
Yeah.
I want it like this, which is completely reasonable. It is a fully informed game design choice that I can be thinking of, and I'll
That's
just
a bit
walk
unfortunate.
into. We'll
Got a shot from
I
off
was
screen.
I was about to compliment them on the dynamic camera. So it zooms in and out according to how far apart you are, which is really nice. The problem with that is that it cuts your field of view down a lot. The same problem then when you spread in different directions and you're placed at the edge. So like here, for example, what's in this room? Who knows?
Don't know yet, but hopefully will. There we go.
It does zoom out when you get an enemy. That's also interesting.
Yeah, when
Okay,
you-
I'll distract them down.
Okay. Right up behind.
Yay!
Oh, and we've got a puck.
Yeah, delicious puck.
What does the puck do?
That's a coin.
Puck is coin. You
Okay.
can see Dan's little coin menu in the
It's
right
the
has gone
world's
up.
thickest coin.
So this is kind of a thing that I'm enjoying about this is that the coins are these thick pucks, and I think it really works because it makes everything look more like toys. That
Yeah.
and that with the parquet floor and like
The parquet floor is a nice touch.
it all makes like really contribute to it feeling like they are toy
Whoa.
tanks. Whee! Aha, my puck. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the incentive for the slow design, I guess, is that a lot of the joy challenge
Yes.
them in the side
Yeah.
and everything.
Alright, I'll distract him.
Kind of automatically
Yeah.
sort of got there, haven't you?
We'll talk about later when we start talking about the
Oh, there's
multiplayer
another one up
itself,
there.
but It's
We'll
a
go back
good
over.
way of making the second player like necessary.
Yeah.
Careful. Oh no. I'll have to distract them. Oh no, okay, fine. You got him. Got it.
Was that another? Did that tank just pop in, or was it there all along?
This
I'm
is a
sure.
two tank crew. We try and interact with the shop now.
Yeah.
So,
More,
have-
more bullet bounce. That's quite fun.
Mm.
More bullets.
I think for now we want more speed so that we can just go and like the zip around the back.
For sure.
I've spent
Okay.
all of my money on speed, and now I can kind of.
You're
zip around
much
a bit.
I'm not.
Yeah. You either have to still play distraction,
Yeah.
Does
or
it
you can
not-
save up for one of the more exciting.
Does it not
upgrades.
power you both up?
You've got separate money, so it's
Yeah.
not.
I mean, we can have a little race if you want, right? Like, come
Okay.
race me.
Here's my little. Oh no.
You grab the money now, so that
Okay.
you can.
So I can also be speedy.
Right. Are you look like you're very you are faster.
I'm a little bit faster.
Not much.
It feels different. Like it does feel faster, even
Does
if
it?
it's not very much.
I was gonna say, does it feel 3 speed upgrades faster?
No, it feels 1 speed upgrade faster.
Well, that was quite.
I'm slightly struggling with because we currently only have 1 bullet on screen. I either have to look at where I am or where my bullet is to find out whether or not I can shoot again.
Right.
Now that's the boss room. We should maybe go and explore some of the
Okay,
rest
so
of
I
the.
get some more
levels.
speed. So I get some more speed before I do
Yeah.
that.
How can you
Good
tell it's the
idea.
boss room?
Sort of,
bigger parquet.
Yes, some sort of subtle visual metaphor.
Let's go. Have I spent my money? Yes.
So we haven't mentioned the music.
The music is it's.
Quite the thing is what I would say.
I'm always in favour of big music.
Is that a 2-shot tank?
I think it might.
We start talking about some of the basics.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if we think about the quality, which is presentation and play,
Mm-hmm.
presentation being graphics, sound, and sort of information design.
I'm speedy now.
What
Look at me
do
go.
you think?
So, like, obviously the aesthetic of like tiny toy tanks sort of going around a playroom, I think works quite well. I think like it'd be really nice if the walls sort of lent into it a bit more, like like sort of like laid out.
Oh, that would.
Well,
Oh no.
No, we worked so hard.
That
Oh.
is a slightly annoying thing that it's a little fragile to do that. We'll have to.
Start from the beginning.
Start from
Yeah.
the beginning and.
I mean, we could just.
Super cautious.
Should we try bombing it straight
I,
to the
I,
boss room? And see
I
what
also
we can
really like the simplicity of the red and blue.
Yeah.
You've got the
Yeah.
like your little corner things with your info in. With how
Classic
many bullets
player
you've got
one,
on
player two.
screen, your number of coins.
so you've got number of bullets you can fire, and I guess that scroll bar is how many of them you've actually currently fired, and then you've got the number of bullets. Like it's some of that, like some of the power ups sort of are. Might not need to see it on the screen at all times, but
And it's quite.
it's
quite
tucked
cute.
away. It doesn't like take away.
It's,
from
and it's the color coding and it's the neatness of it. And it's a very crisp design.
Yeah,
And I think the graphics are really nice.
yeah, like
The-
simple
Yeah.
and effective.
Yeah.
The audio, the choice of track is quite spot.
Fire as well.
You get a boom.
So I think they've done a quite nice job here.
Oh no! I would like to have 2 or 3 lives.
You might argue that the information design doesn't differentiate between important and important information. But otherwise, I mean, I think an excellent would be impactful, complete, effective, and appealing. I can't.
I agree. Technically, by the end of it, we might have seen what the effects of some of the other power-ups, like the shield and things, look like.
Yeah.
Which would be nice to finish that off. But,
So the square is, you've got the square and you've got the puck. And the puck is the coin.
so the red one, I think, is just default. You get speed.
Right, okay.
Like
So it's
you
Yeah.
don't get to
a free-
decide what
free
you.
speed upgrade.
Yeah.
So
Play.
actually, that's useful in a coin now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The speed upgrade costs 1.
So if you think about play, satisfactory would be it's playable, good would be engaging, and excellent would be fun. Where would you put it? Yeah.
Aesthetic, the dynamic that they're going.
I think they've got that kind of
I do think having a
problem
few
that's
lives
very
would be-
common, I guess, which is with games that don't have a kind of a save point effectively, is that you play it impatiently
Yeah.
the second and third time. So the more times you get killed for being careless, the more careless you are.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's the wrong feedback loop. But that's not uncommon for games like this, right?
And with that in mind, with that as part of it, it does sort of feel like the game wants you to explore these spaces and get the upgrades and things, but
The risk's so high.
the risk is high, and it's probably actually a faster reward to just try and properly bomb it to the boss room. But
Yeah. That's very cute.
that's adorable. 10 stars to that. I can no longer shoot. Oh no, I bugged myself. No! Sorry.
Get warm. Absolutely playable.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's pretty clearly engaging as well.
I don't like the smoothness. I like the smoothness of the tanks, the back and forth. That's very nice.
So
Do we think it's complex enough to go beyond?
fun is higher complexity with complementary mechanics, intuitive controls, and no significant bugs.
So I think I'm not sure it's got the complexity and mechanics. So, like for example,
It's difficult to know without seeing some of those extra upgrades.
I mean, you can probably guess what the upgrades do.
Oh, there's a random coin.
Like similarly, like
nice
again,
that that's
like, is this a design choice or is this a case of I didn't have time to add that as well? But the fact that all of the enemies are like static turrets. Rather than
Yeah, that's true.
Quite a whole bunch of coins we can try buying some of the expensive stuff.
Indeed, it's true. I like that there are sometimes, well, so far once there has been a random coin just hanging out. Although part of me thinks that might have just been a tank that got shot by another tank
Maybe.
accidentally.
I mean, it looks like you are properly engaged.
Yeah, we are playing
really-
again.
So, I mean, I think I think it's fair to say it doesn't quite reach the prize-worthy level, but maybe... Sorry, the excellent level, but maybe halfway between good and excellent.
takes us on to the key features that they added for the brief. So for this, that's local multiplayer and procedural generation, which I guess is the other reason why they didn't make their tanks move, because they're like, well, I'm doing AI as well.
Well, let's think about multiplayer then.
Would this game be as fun by yourself, do you think?
No. Of multiplayer because there is a unique interaction of I'll distract them while you shoot.
I think I think if it didn't have that, this would be just a single player game but with two people in it. But because of that decision, like you have to play it cooperatively.
Again, it's just one of those things where I wish they'd had the time to lean into it a bit more.
Yeah.
A bit more examples of that where there are clearly different roles to play within a room or a play space. So I can imagine things like switches you have to drive over, for example.
So, fun fact, they did actually say one of the things they were thinking of adding during the development process was a room where you've got to both press on a button at the same time. And I said, that's a bit contrived. Lots of co-op games do that. It's always silly when they do.
So you steer them away.
I would have really liked here's start with 5 coins, because then you can specialise before you start, right? Like, the fact that we have to replay the first bit of the game until the point that we each have 5 coins, so that then we can make some decisions about what we want to specialise in, slows us down a lot. Like, it would be really nice for, at the start of the game, one of us gets to be speedy tank and one of us gets to be buff tank.
Yeah. Speedy tank and power tank or something like that.
Do we know what debug mode does? Can we do things like just give ourselves free money to
I
show?
don't know what it does. Let's find out.
Let's find out. I don't know how we interact with debug mode, but
It may just show some of the
You may just show errors.
procedural
Or
generation stuff.
Let me see whether or not I can, like, buy stuff without having any money. Not by the looks of it.
I don't think it's cheat mode, sadly.
Fair enough.
Rip.
So, okay, in terms of multiplayer then, a good would be an experience that consistently allows for meaningful play for multiple players.
Yeah.
Feels like it's there, right?
I certainly think so, yes.
Excellent would be challenging and enjoyable play for multiple players. And it lacks it's sort of there. It lacks a bit of variety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It takes away from the enjoyability a bit.
It continues to be challenging as demonstrated by the fact that we haven't managed to get to the boss yet, but it feels like the challenge is a bit flat in that it doesn't have variety. Oh, sorry.
The current difficulty is almost a little punishing in the sense that it's do the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
I think if we have that, like fast start type deal where we're playing the more interesting part of the game sooner, then the challenge would be much more about how do I exploit the effects that I have chosen to specialise in.
And for me, it's to do with those roles. It's like, so every room you've got into so far, you're having the same experience. And it's a good experience, but it's just again and again and again and again.
So I think we're about to talk. Let's
Cool.
have a look at the
Can we
boss.
do the boss?
Yeah. So I was gonna say,
Wait, let me get my.
Oh yeah.
I think we're going to talk about that more when we talk about
Wow.
Yeah, boss tank
Right.
is.
Hello.
He's
I'm
And
playing.
also, it's in a massive space, so your bullets go for miles before they disappear.
Yeah. You can hit the.
he goes down in one hit.
Yeah.
Oh,
So those upgrades maybe not super necessary.
Oh.
Pushing a little bullet
you had
around.
some bullets. smaller than
Buggy
before.
bullet. I thought it was going to kill you when you tried pushing it. But...
I love it.
So unfortunately the stage doesn't reset just because they ran out of time.
Okay.
Shall we just go and
That
harvest
doesn't
some coins so we can
Yeah.
try the other upgrades and stuff out?
Yeah.
Or you can
Oh
shoot
yeah.
someone in the back.
Yeah.
Where were we? So we were just debating kind of, we said it's sort of definitely the good level for multiplayer,
Yep.
but maybe there are some problems with the variety
Mhm.
that maybe limit the enjoyability that mean that it doesn't get to excellent. Is it good enough to get halfway there, do you think?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is the variety. The variety is in getting the upgrades. It takes a long time to get there. So like,
Right, okay.
There-
So in a sense, your suggestion of just give us some specialisations at the beginning is to solve that
yeah,
problem.
I don't begrudge them that the tanks we're fighting against don't have a lot of variety in them. That seems fine. I do
Yeah.
begrudge them that we can't get our specialties.
I tell you what I begrudge is that I've been told the bullets bounce.
I also tried
You have
that.
to buy the
That's an
bouncing
upgrade,
bullets.
yeah.
So in the
Oh.
last run, I saved up 3 coins in order to buy bouncing bullets, and I got told that I had 1 bouncing bullet instead of 0 bouncing bullets, and it still didn't bounce. So I think that
okay.
either it's not implemented, or
So it definitely is implemented because we saw it.
Yeah,
in
we've seen it
Expo.
in the lab.
okay,
But I think there are some surfaces that they won't bounce off of.
right.
But this is I've tried
But-
lots of surfaces.
Yeah, but this is you just don't have the upgrade right now.
Yeah, we died since getting the upgrade.
Ah, okay.
Well, also,
Yeah,
where's the
and-
rest of the map gone? Did we lose the map once we hit the boss?
Yeah.
If try shooting each other in the back, that'll reset it.
This is going to be a problem. You shoot me, yeah.
All right, so you fight every room you go into. You fight a tank.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's particularly different or
There are
engaging
walls in
because-
different places, the tank is placed in different places, but I don't think it actually changes any of the decisions.
No. Oh. No, and I don't
So-
think that the game is.
So they've used random maze, a sort of maze path thing to ensure a path through. So I would say, the good things are that it does generate a variety of different maps.
Mhm.
Those maps are always navigable, and they always allow play.
Yes,
it,
good
it's,
job.
it is perfectly functional.
So it functions.
Very good.
And if we look at the criteria, sort of a satisfactory would be straightforward procedural duration. It incorporates some effective rules that enable meaningful play.
All the coins this
Um,
time, we can buy the
pretty
expensive
much
stuff.
feels like all
And that's kind of where it is. The problem is to get up to good, it needs to have rules that enhance play by figuring out what configurations are fun and then promoting those, or by having some rules to give you more interesting variety.
So let's say, for example, one of the upgrades is you're a shotgun tanker, firing multiple bullets at the same time, but they don't go as far. Then you've got some stuff you can play with the scale of the room. So do
Yeah.
you have a longer room with
Yeah.
like more open corridors? Do you have tight claustrophobic maze?
And the same with the bouncing bullets, right? You can have things where you get kind of more interesting use of the bullets.
Oh, sorry.
But again, the problem here is a lack of variety really in the level itself.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's very much a case of just square room with some walls.
Yeah.
Square room.
But there's nothing to play with, so there's no alternative surfaces, right? Where your tank behaves differently, right? Kind of. Let's take the analogy. Someone's spilt some soda water on the floor or something, and it's or some some Coke on the floor, and it's sticky, and your tank slows down. Right? Place where there are. So what was really interesting to me that as soon as you shot the block and it fell over, you squealed with delight. Right?
I do a lot of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but why not have some blocks in with where they do that? You shoot them and it moves the blocks, and it kind of, I think that those kinds of things.
That is, I was going to say barriers and things where you can shoot down barrier tiles. That would have been cool.
It's
that would
it's
make
like
sense,
that,
actually.
but as soon as you have that, you have enough in your kind of toolbox that your procedural generation can now be much more interesting. Right? So they've got this real classic problem above. There's not enough for the procedural generation to work with. So it's still satisfactory.
Yep.
I think it's still at that level.
Different directions and see how the camera.
Ooh, that's a camera. Yeah.
So we're talking about design pillars next, yeah?
Yep. So let's have a look at what they said for their pillars.
Okay.
But
Toy tanks, big action.
I get as pillars go, that's evocative and I like it.
It is good, yeah. The toy tank thing is fun. It kind of defines the aesthetic, and kind of determine. Again, they could have run with it more within the game.
Say tank game, boring pillar. It could be, or undescriptive pillar. So it could be something like mega super military simulation. It could be cute fun toy tanks, and they've been very explicit.
Yep.
And that's the vibe. They
This is our toy
So
tank
that,
game.
that works really well, I think.
Top-down tactical teamwork. So again, sort of reinforcing the idea that you have to cooperate rather than just go to opposite ends of the map.
Although at the moment we are
Although
sort of vaguely
We're
testing
giving it a
that.
go, yeah.
You're doing okay. Roguelike progression. So they say roguelite. I don't think it actually is roguelite.
No.
Because I don't think any. So I know the initial idea was that upgrades would progress between rounds. I don't think that's
That would
actually
make
the case in
exactly
the
that would
source.
make it a roguelike, but that
I can't see
was
myself
not a
anymore.
thing. Oh no! I can't move.
So that one feels. The first two. Third one, not really sustained, probably. Fourth one is close quarters cooperative dungeon crawler. That
Yeah.
well, there's a little bit of odds with the second one, which is the top-down tactical teamwork. They're alternative ways of describing the same sort of thing, but with different emphasis. So I'm left wondering. I know which one they feels more like. It feels more like the first one. Close quarters. I suppose what they're talking about is that it's room by room combat.
Yeah.
Is really what
So
they mean.
you're not firing shells
It's
like 2
5
kilometers
for more
away.
bullets.
So when I read the description, it's clear that that's what they actually mean. So it's I mean, in fairness, again, it's like okay, each room's like a little puzzle that has to be solved effectively. So okay, I think having read the description, they do that.
Yeah.
And then boss-themed dynamic generation. The boss influences the generation level by making enemies spawn that are similar to the type of boss they will meet the player at the end. On their way, introduce the players to how the boss may work.
So I do remember them talking about this.
Yes,
Can't
I
remember
think
what-
I've discussed this one as well.
I
It's
can
it's
suddenly
good in
afford
principle.
bullets.
I'm not sure we
Give
would
us the
noticed
bullets,
it.
give us the
Yeah.
Particularly.
Like we've
I can, in
restarted,
fact,
so we've
shoot
only
2
seen one
bullets.
boss, but we have restarted
Yes.
a number of times and I've not noticed the minions change.
No.
So I think this is a case of this is vertical slice, this is level 1, and that's
Yeah.
how it would work in future.
So, I think the fourth one is not a great name.
Having 2 bullets is super influential because you can just double shoot at a tank, and the first one they'll cancel it out, and the second one they won't.
Ha.
Right.
We suddenly might have the chance to acquire a whole bunch more money now.
Glorious. Fine.
So
Get
in
all the
terms of the
captions done.
pillars,
Sure.
so a good would be pillars describing their implications for play and design that have been followed and which give the game its character.
Yep.
They're there. Definitely. Excellent would be 3 pillars again, but this time they are creatively followed to give the game a distinctive character. It is almost there, isn't it? It's the toy tanks thing in particular, the room by room combat, the tactical. Yeah, I kind of.
In fact, I think it probably.
I think
there.
it probably is
It's
there.
like-
I think those two things give it quite a distinctive feel. And some of the other ones are a little bit underdeveloped, like the tactical play, but
I think
those
that's
two.
it. It's
do
a
it.
case of they could be developed further, but the mechanics that
Yeah.
are there do. Yeah, those pillars are.
So I think
Try the
I think
bullet
it's really
bounce?
excellent. Prizeworthy, it would be a unique character.
Given what influenced this game, I don't think it is unique.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's doing enough. That's kind of innovative to put it at that level. But you know, that's
That bullet did not bad.
it's still definitely an excellent job. They've done a really good job with their design.
I do not see any bullet bounce. So
And-
still.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still...
I think you might need to get to 2 bullet bounces before it actually bounces.
So have you
at all.
have you got so have you got bounty?
It starts at 0 and 1 is still nothing.
So you,
You keep putting cash and
can
see if you can get 2 bullet
back-
bounces.
So you can't bounty bullet.
Even with one amount of nominal bullet bouncing, it doesn't bounce.
That's a shame. Definitely saw it in the expo.
Yeah. But it was bugging, so maybe when fixing it was like, oh, now there is
Oh.
no.
Ah, we got trapped on a wall.
So
Feedback.
Feedback. Feedback sessions, discuss ideas, blah 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 blah. Use upgradability aspect. Upgrades. Okay. Also.
That wasn't how that was supposed to work, was it? Okay, I'll come back up
Yeah.
and we'll see if we can trigger the camera to do something else.
Okay.
I suspect the studying room has special behaviour.
I can see you're struggling to tease out the actual feedback they received. Yeah. So advice to future students: write a bullet list.
Yeah.
Right?
We love a bullet list.
Teasing it out from a couple of paragraphs of text is not always easy.
So one piece of feedback was focusing on the powers and upgrades to emphasise the cooperative aspect. So rather than so if you can just make one tank mega powerful, then one person can go off and do it.
In a way, this is kind of what you were saying, though. It's kind of like they've started on this route of making the tanks, of differentiating the tanks, but because you have to collect all the power-ups, and you kind of don't start off in that way, so it would have been better to kind of give yourself a bit of a head start.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good bit of feedback, and they've sort of addressed it, but not fully.
I mean, so the other way to do that is rather than just you start off identical and you can choose your upgrades, or even you can start with some free upgrades. Just have one tank be big and slow, and one tank be small and fast, and then and then you can fight over which one you actually want to be.
Yeah. Starting tanks, just pick one of the 3 or something. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, like just give them goofy, like childlike names like Hefty.
So is that the only one?
So they also say they did a lot of play testing to sort of fine tune the movement and so on.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
that's-
that really counts as a.
Yeah, that's less to do with marks criteria and more like fine tuning, making it feel good.
So
like the first one, it's the
the
one I'm
end?
having difficulty sort of
I think
teasing out.
I'm reading the same text. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Require the upgradability aspect that you get from upgrades, or providing the progression gains and losses that are staples of roguelite. I don't think that's a feedback item. I think they've only got one real piece of feedback, which is power-ups differentiate between the players. And they have done that, but it isn't quite as successful as it could have been, because so much of the play occurs while you are building up to that point. So you play an awful long time being very similar,
Yes.
right? And they could have just... So, satisfactory would be feedback was addressed and the changes have been somewhat successful. And it feels like that, but so the question for me is, are we happy that they've only got that one item of feedback?
They did eventually. They did actually change the speed of the bullets a bit and stuff like that from the start, but so they could have incorporated that. They were in all the things, so we did. Sorry, I've got to now wait for my bullet to travel across the room before I can shoot again.
Yeah.
They were in the lab, so I don't think that was the only feedback they received.
I feel like it's they may have not necessarily articulated all the feedback they got, but I know they got some feedback, and I feel like they've acted throughout the development process. It would be nice to
So I mean, if you're happy with that, we can go with the satisfactory. I think the one that they have articulated, it is at that level. They've made some changes that have been somewhat successful.
Oh, actually, 1v1 tank battle.
Sure.
So this is a good one, right?
But in a smaller room.
Yeah. Okay. We'll clear this guy out of here, and then we'll.
It's a fun little game.
Yeah, we found one more way you can play 1v1 tank battle. This guy, though, I swear.
Let's take this guy out, and then we'll have a room.
Not in the corner or something, but...
I think it's time to move on to our next game.
Yeah. Alright, let's take a look at our next game.
I think it's called Cave.
Oh yeah, Cave. So...
Oh.
You got the light on.
Taking a moment. Oh, okay. It is now loaded. Fancy textures.
I assume that's the cave entrance. Into the cave.
Yup. So I'm going to have to get under a wall. Now, I'm going to call out to Tom. What are the controls?
I believe control to crouch.
So
Control.
Is it worth just saying that we were sent
We were sent a text document.
a text document with all the controls in it, which is a novel approach to tutorials, but at least we got something.
That, I believe, is a thing you're meant to collect.
Mm-hmm. One of your...
Hello.
Terrifying doll.
So the horrible monster that you're trying to avoid is like that, except not floating.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Now, is that house a thing I should be going towards?
That's where you have to return all of the dolls to.
That is indeed the dollhouse. One bit of feedback here that they haven't implemented is that we said please put in the skybox.
Yeah. Walls in that we can't see.
The awesome wall.
It's a little.
outside.
Because the problem is, like, parts. So we saw again this in the lab quite a lot, and it's iterated.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bits to this game that are really claustrophobic, where you have to do like corridors that just feel narrow for your player character, but then actively undercut when there's just an entire wall missing.
Which is a shame because I actually like the weird liminal feel of a lot of this. Like it's very like you're trapped in an abandoned movie theatre
like
circa 1978.
It's so surreal.
Yeah, it's quite surreal, yeah, like floating.
There's a wheelchair stuck in the
floating
ceiling.
items,
I love that.
The horrific carpet.
The horrific carpet is again fantastic.
It's got the bowling alley from circa 1996.
Yeah. 1996 bowling alley, but it's haunted.
I'm going to note that I can't strafe. I have to go forward or left, right, which I can work with. But I kind of do want to be able to look round corners while I was going sideways.
Your muscle memory has strafing in it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
For all those tanks.
Remember, you can press F to put a mark on the floor.
Sure, let's do... Yep.
Ooh.
I sure have.
So that's helpful to stop you from getting lost. That's nice.
Okay.
Can you put multiple marks
You've
down?
also got
Or
a
is it
light
just one?
if you want to press L.
Well, I will put another mark down first and find out... Yes, there are multiple marks.
Multiple
And you said L for light?
Yes. Oh, it looks like your light's gone out. Tap R to recharge, or hold R to recharge your light. So you might-
Oh, yes. This is hold R.
Okay, oh,
Which
so...
I
oh,
think-
okay, I like that.
How far can I push the light?
Towards it, monster
Oh.
might be able to hear you.
Huh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Now he tells you.
Okay.
I quite like to see the monster.
So, there you are, put the light on.
I'm absolutely thrilled that this is a thing for a horror game, which is great. But again, it does feel undercut by it's a Lego tower metaphor. There's a tower on top of the Lego tower, but it does feel a bit like there's one of the pillars missing.
This one in particular, also undercutting my point. Some of them,
Some of them very narrow.
I'm aware that I'm pretty slow, and I think I have got into crawl mode and never got out of crawl
Yeah,
mode.
you're just crawling around.
Yeah.
So these ones, for example, like
What happens if you hit control when you're not scraping your head against the ceiling bit?
I will have to find somewhere I can stand
Yeah.
up. This looks like a place I can stand up.
On the floor with you.
If you press C, you might be able to.
Crouched.
So it appears to be Control to crouch, C to uncrouch is
Okay.
what I'm currently doing. It doesn't actually speed me up very much. It speeds me up a little bit.
What is your objective? To
Get-
collect all the dolls?
Get,
and go
the,
back to
get
doll
the 3
house?
dolls to the doll house. In fact,
How
if you
many
press-
dolls have you collected?
if you
So
press
far,
I,
I have 2 dolls. And since apparently inventory is size 2, I guess I should go and drop them off before I try and find another one.
Good plan.
no, so you, yeah.
Now
you
I
wanna
should
go-
have some marks that tell
Yeah,
me how to
yeah.
go
Where are
back.
those marks you put down?
Yeah. I'm going to do left hand on the wall.
This reminds me of that old Microsoft screensaver where it was
Oh,
like
it
running
does.
through a maze. I loved that thing. I used to watch it all the time. I was a very odd child.
Oh, that's your
That
mark.
looks-
Is that your mark?
No, I think that's just starting location, but the starting location happened to
Yeah.
have texture.
There it is, yeah.
So,
The bowling carpet.
yes.
Love that weird painting that's just hanging out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like it's a real weird mix of you're in a mysterious
Do
cave and there's also just stuff there.
Okay,
Uh,
holding.
It's hold and
No,
holding.
Yeah.
Just
So
hold
you
and
can
hold.
hold the
it
thing in
and
your
then click
inventory
on
and
the-
then...
right, hang on. So,
It's not the most intuitive
I-
control scheme.
You've got to hold it.
hold it, and then go out of this menu, and then click
There
on
you go.
success. Now I need to find the one that I dropped.
Yeah, so that one you dropped, there it is.
Pick that one up again. Hold it, menu, and then put it on there. Wonderful.
Oh, their eyes,
How-
like,
How do you know that that's worked?
Because that's now attached to the
They're sitting on
dollhouse.
3 little boxes. So
Ah, I've got
Oh.
them.
I tried to pick up the
Are
box.
they?
Oh no.
Have you got your torch? See if we can-
They
need
just look
to-
like they're stood.
Jump scare.
They just stood next to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that box, there used to be 3 boxes. I thought they were going to stand on the boxes. It looks like they're standing,
Replace
replace the
Replace
boxes.
the boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Those
there's,
look very
there's some
creepy.
sort of monster in here chasing you?
Apparently,
Because you've
although-
been playing for a few minutes now, we've not seen anything.
So I do think that it sometimes gets stuck on things.
Well, that's
is-
like very helpful for Dan. Yeah.
I can do the easy.
Oh,
that
there
that
she
sure
is.
looks like. Well, I'm going to light it up so we can see it, and then
that's way creepier than it used to be.
That's pretty horrific, actually.
yeah, that's the thing that
It
I
does
do
look
not
like it
want.
might
to
be
run
stuck,
into.
though.
I remember. I remember
You know
when
what?
the game
I'm
designer...
gonna put some marks here and try and avoid going into it for now, and try and do a successful run.
When the
Oh.
game designer... Oh, there's a doll. When the game
I
designer
think I can do a
was
successful
in
one.
one of the labs, I remember them looking through these models, and I was like, oh, these are revolting. But what's interesting is that they also remind me a little bit of the AI models that, like, legendarily Miyazaki was looking at Studio Ghibli and went, this is anti-human design. This is...
Now that was,
They
I have
do
just
look a
managed
bit
to
like
pick up
that.
one of the dolls again. Oh.
Oh,
You can exit portal.
I am going.
Hop in.
Yay! Succeeded.
Let's go through it.
I'm gonna
So I
have to
think
kill it at least.
I think maybe you got lucky and the monster was stuck.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll be unlucky and the monster will
Let's try-
chase you and eat your face.
Let's
Let's
try
find
level
out.
B next time.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
good idea.
Does someone else want to take it on the next drive? People shaking their heads.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
I'll go again.
Presentation.
I think it looks cool where it's got like looks. It looks cool.
I think the fact that there are gaping holes in the cave is
I think that stops it being professional. Right? Presentational elements haven't quite been finished.
yeah.
This is the claustrophobic.
I think workable is a better description for it.
Yeah.
There's
So that's satisfactory level,
Yeah.
effective but some inconsistent.
Deliver the flower to the plague doctor, obviously.
It's a plague doctor.
Um,
Okay.
There's an awful lot of really of the default Unity UI stuff in the inventory and in the menu stuff. It's very much like put in panel.
Yeah, it's a lot of that default stuff's in there.
It's
Also,
great yeah,
what to do is a little bit.
you the use of the so the obvious thing is, why doesn't it show you on the screen? Why is there a HUD? But they deliberately chose to take that away. That if you had it, it would spoil the ambience of the game. So I think there are possible arguments to make, but yeah. Tell you what's going on.
I think the inventory system, like by itself, like the UI could
there's some stuff that's so weird that it's awesome in this. Like it feels like a horror game.
The aesthetic is interesting.
Yeah, but it hasn't been fully realised. I don't.
So but music.
One of the keys has got sticky, and I think I cannot not walk this way anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, you're going to get a beautiful view of the.
Oh, yeah, we'll take a
We're
look
going to exploit this.
Yeah, audio. Is there any audio?
So I don't think there is on this. It does say in the notes that they handed in that in level B they've tried to attach some audio to some items, and I think you also your footsteps and the monster's footsteps as you go. I think we have the volume quite far down. Maybe if you restart this and we try level A again, or
because I think if there's no audio, then I think that the between the past and the satisfactory, I think is perfectly reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if there is an audio level.
Because what we're saying there is that they've got some nice aesthetic design, but there's some incompleteness. The information design feels a little bit basic, and there's no audio. I think that's fine.
We're building a lot of game objects.
Still
Not building the level. Footsteps.
I can hear them.
Just about.
They're real quiet.
In fact, there's ambient. Whoosh.
It's very subtle, but
Well, I mean, so in that case, I would argue for perhaps going for the
Yeah.
satisfactory
Alright.
for presentation.
Cool.
It's kind of
I would
it's
happily
it's
agree.
it's weird. It's I
I'm
wouldn't
gonna get
do
caught.
that for something.
Let's
that
find out
is-
what happens.
is
Hello. Oh, okay.
Straight up though.
It's kind of slightly unfinished feel to it.
Mm.
I wouldn't normally say that, but meaningful play. Would you say it is challenging to play, playable, engaging, or fun? Or terrifying?
On some, it's kind of what it feels like. There's these things to interact with that feel like they should do something, and so I'm kind of I go up. Oh, I'm automatically flowing backwards again. From that point of view, it's got this sense of not quite purposelessness, but it tees you up for, oh, something's going to happen, and then it doesn't. I think that's more about the case that because there's a small number of special objects in a relatively large maze, they're fairly infrequent. So when you find one, you go, ooh, a thing's going to happen. And that might also be coupled with the fact that, particularly when you're crouching, you move very slowly. So you actually do quite a lot of this just waiting to get to the next interaction.
Yeah.
Well, so in terms of mechanics, we've got a monster chasing you, we've got an inventory system, we've got leaving marks on the floor to sort of track your progress.
Light.
We've got the light as well, so there are a number of things working together.
Yeah.
In terms of the gameplay itself, it's a lot of walk to place, click on thing, walk to another place, click
Yeah.
on thing.
Yeah.
Particularly the fact that there are 3 things to collect and you can only hold 2 at once means you're going to end up sort of backtracking
Going
quite a lot.
backwards and forwards, and you're quite slow. So a pass would be challenging, simple game with few mechanics, awkward controls, may have serious bugs.
Rules are definitely
Yeah.
challenging.
The UI for the like menus and things is certainly awkward. I'm finding if you notice where the mouse is compared to where I'm moving, the scaling is a little odd. So I'm
Yeah.
always hitting the edge of the map
Yeah.
and whatever, or the edge of the screen, I suppose. The fact that I can't press W and A or something to go sideways
Yep.
it annoys me a little bit. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but there's a few little bits here.
And it does have some bugs, and some of those bugs are serious bugs, right? So if the main antagonist is stuck on a wall, they're not chasing.
That's a pretty
That
big
is-
bug.
So I think actually the pass level is probably about right. For Proc Gen
The
and
decoy door,
AI,
maybe?
as
Okay.
their
Might be a red herring.
Yeah.
parts.
Again,
Yes.
this is just a game design thing. Red herrings. I don't think red herrings should be in
They're
game
not
design. in
fun,
general.
right?
They're not
They-
fun, and
they-
they limit player imagination type things.
Come and
Yeah.
chase me. Chase me.
Is your inventory full though, or is,
Oh yeah.
yeah? It's so that's not
That's not a decoy. It's a
Yeah.
So
you need
it's
to go
like
and drop off your
the
dolls.
painting and the wheels here and all that. They're the sort of red herring. There's
Right,
not
okay,
A
that's-
doll that looks like the dolls you're trying to
Okay,
get.
yeah,
It's
fair
just
enough.
You're carrying too much stuff.
Oh,
is
maybe
it
they
going
can
there?
walk near that
Is it
doll. So you
moving?
know it.
So
Like
the
it-
AI,
Mm.
the AI stuff is all about the enemy location,
Mhm.
and it says the enemy tries to locate the player based on sight and sound. It uses accuracy compared against a threshold to determine how accurate you would know your location. So there's some randomness to where it gets to go. If accuracy is low, then it either routes randomly or goes to key items. And the accuracy threshold will drop as the player progresses through the level to keep up the pressure. So the idea is the more you play, the more it kind of gets used to
Chases
tracking
you.
you, I suppose.
Yeah. Eventually, it becomes
Um,
omniscient and just knows you at all
Using the
times.
wrong key on the puzzle will alert the enemy to the player's location but not decrease the threshold. That sounds good in principle.
Yeah. In practice,
In practice, though, the enemy seems to spend a lot of time ignoring you,
Mm.
crawling away into a corner.
Mm. What was when you have actively
Run
walked
into
up
it.
and given it a big hug?
Yeah.
which find it and all of the
Yeah.
Mm.
the
I
behaviour that it should
love
exhibit.
I love that idea of the threshold and saying actually to have this sense of increasing drama
Mhm.
to kind of actually
Yeah.
make the antagonist
More
get
and more
Yeah.
confident.
more and more threatening
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you go through that natural way is
It's
really
a nice,
good.
yeah, it's a nice way to like
Um,
ramp up the attention.
But just doesn't seem
Oops.
to be
I-
working.
I keep
or-
doing that.
So I believe the problem is partly because of the way the level is generated.
Yeah.
So the pathfinding uses Unity's now.
So okay, so I think what we're saying is great design, but problematic in. So
So where does that put us?
well, AI system that permits play without hindrance.
Because a pool would be an overly simple one or one that impedes play.
I mean,
So I
you
think-
are playing without
And
hindrance.
I think what we have here is we have a system not actually simple or overly simple.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
It's designed to be complex. It just doesn't work properly.
I think that it's a bug rather than a bad AI.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I think it's still
But I think that still impedes
it
play.
still impedes play. So you'd balance the two out and say it's a class.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's designed at the satisfactory level,
Mhm.
at least probably, but its execution is probably unfortunately at the poor level. So,
Generation is very complex and like involved. It is
the map
different every
layout.
time. They've done.
it's random path.
to ask, why did they give us level A and level B? It seems like we're doing exactly the same thing in both, just one of them happens to be flowers and one of them happens to be dolls.
So, again, from speaking to them during the development process, the initial idea was the first part of the level is procedurally generated at build time. So this first part should always be the same, and then like once you've gotten the MacGuffins, then it generates a new and random bit. Like, might have split it across A and B.
Okay.
This is the thing that's supposed to take a flower.
No, you've got to give it to the Plague Doctor, and then this becomes the exit, of course.
Right, yes, okay.
Of
So
course,
they
you gotta
generate,
get
they
in the
actually, so
coffin.
they generate 4 different maps and then join them together, which is that's a problem. Why is it? Oh,
So just a lot of
It's-
high resolution textures.
Yeah, probably the textures are at way higher resolution.
I think also it's actually a very big map, but the distribution of objects through it is maybe not.
From looking at it in the lab, it was a massive map.
Oh, there's the
Oh,
thing.
she is chasing you this time.
Hey.
Success.
Hey! Oh, and she is genuinely terrifying when she comes after you.
Yeah.
Nice.
And now the interesting thing is,
Well
because you can't possibly see it, and suggesting in order to see it, you have to run backwards, and then you can't see where you're going. There's this interesting thing where do you crawl backwards because then you definitely won't hit your head on something, or do you run backwards and expect to back yourself up against a wall? Although because the mouse movement is a little unintuitive, I don't feel like I can necessarily look at the thing, turn around, run, look at the thing, turn around, run. It's just a little too cumbersome to do it in real time like that.
So for the proc gen, a satisfactory would be straightforward procedural generation that incorporates some effective rules that enable meaningful play. So that's all about just making sure that you can practically play the game in the space. It's a approach, but you can definitely.
What I like is the red herring items they're not red herrings, they're landmarks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I remember I've got to go left of the floating wheelchair or whatever to get to the doll's house.
Yeah, I have no problem with the floating wheelchair type things. I don't feel like they're really red herrings. They're more interesting set dressing.
So that would be a satisfactory.
Yeah.
Majority of cases it allows play. It always allows play, I think.
Yeah,
It's
I think
always
so.
So in that case, it's whether it's higher than that at the good level, which is are the rules there to enhance play?
And that's what would we be looking for something that enhances play? I would be expecting something where the deeper you go into the cave, the narrower and narrower everything gets, right? So like the last couple of MacGuffins are in the scariest part.
So the one thing that they've described is the path as it leads to open areas being generated. So they wanted to create a claustrophobic atmosphere, so limited the parallel paths forming next to each other
Okay, so
by adding a buffer point at inner corners. Right.
So they do constrain their algorithm.
The algorithm is designed to kind of minimise big open spaces.
Okay.
So it's downloaded into a big open space.
Yeah.
And to create this kind of there's a little bit of that going on. Comes down to something we've seen in some of the previous games where there's probably not enough going on in the level for the procedural level design to get its teeth into, and the toolbox is too small. Right?
Yeah. So is that a satisfactory level, do you think?
I think they're definitely at the satisfactory level. I don't think they've kind of done enough to get up.
Pillars go, they're not incredibly descriptive.
No.
And I think
Stop.
horror you can
Yeah.
pretty much talk already.
Yeah, in fact, what we said was try not to use that. Don't be afraid to use adjectives, right? Throw out what your English teacher taught you. Litter your pillars with adjectives. So the problem with horror is it's like, well, what type of horror?
Stalker horror.
I like Stalker. Stalker works.
Stalker is a very good pillar.
Now you can argue about whether or not they've succeeded, because it doesn't really feel like you're being stalked.
Correct.
So for example, for a stalker, what I would expect is, let's imagine it could detect your trail, and if it comes across your trail, it starts following you, right? And that would emphasise that.
To an extent, it is trying to do with it tracks your noise and how much light
But
you
it
make.
doesn't follow
Doesn't feel
you.
like it.
I think it's
follow
important
you.
that I don't know whether it is following me at the moment or not.
Yeah.
The only time I ever know anything about it
So you
is
can
when
hear
I
its
run into it.
footsteps, it's just we've got the volume.
So
Yeah.
Stalker is a great pillar. I think Stalker horror,
I don't
great
think
pillar.
it's
It's
as
just
developed as it could be.
it is here, but it just could be stronger. Horror, kind of not necessary because of the Stalker bit probably. Cave setting is. I would have expected something more like that word claustrophobic.
Yeah,
Mm.
which they do
Yeah.
mention in their game notes. They say the whole
Yeah.
point of it being a cave setting is to an environment that's claustrophobic. So, well, claustrophobia is your pillar then.
Yeah. And then they should have lent into it, exactly like you said. So they should have had something saying, what happens is the further away from the starting point you get, the more claustrophobic the level gets, the smaller the corridors get, the lower the ceilings get, and the things you have to collect are at increasing distances from the starting point, right? And there you go, it's there, right? You've got that kind of natural sense of kind of claustrophobia.
So there's another word in their descriptions that there's another word they use, which is unreality.
It's also a
That's also here, the sort of slightly surreal kind of nature.
If it had been like
So
liminal space, surreal cave crawling stalker horror,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
that's
so
a
to
good
go on
thing.
yeah, stalker horror, claustrophobic.
Reality.
Yeah. So okay, so
It's very
So okay, but
so we've got a set of pillars that are kind of like a little kind of work, right?
Oh, I'm trapped by a
So a satisfactory would be at least 3 pillars describing the implications
Do you
for
wanna
play and
take a sip?
design. Game mostly supports the proposed pillars.
and a pass would be insufficient pillars that do not properly describe their implementations for play.
Doesn't feel like it's quite as bad.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it might be
Between the two,
Yeah.
it's got some elements, right? So that takes us on to feedback, and they said the main feedback was why they use ProcGen as you were only using it at development time. Because of this, they decided to use it for item placement at runtime. Another area I received feedback was about needing landmarks, and I gave the player the ability to mark locations as well as have items leaving visual traces on the map. So 2 things. One is moving from build time ProcGen to runtime ProcGen, and the second one is adding in landmarks and visual markers.
I love that adding in landmarks and visual markers. How do I do it again? I've swapped, by the way. M. Oh, there it is. Haha. Okay. Oh, I have left some behind me. Very good.
Which, like, as a feature, I really like that it's included. I feel like we haven't used it as much.
I don't know why we haven't used it. It feels like it should be more useful than it is.
If we were talking about the thing where you said it'll follow your trail, it would be quite nice if the marker was the thing that knocked it off the trail or something.
Or even then, like, if it followed the markers.
Sure.
Because then
Yeah.
you've got to, like, oh, do I leave a marker so I know where I've been? But then, oh god, what if it follows it? Like, that would work.
So-
You
nicely.
can even use it deceptively. Drop a marker and run
So if
away.
it hasn't got your trail, it will and it sees a marker, it will pick up your trail again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think.
So in terms of like using the procedural generation to randomize the items,
Yeah.
like again, it kind of falls under the stuff we've already covered about procedural, rather than just having a map you've already designed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the marking locations thing feels like a good idea. It hasn't quite worked. So a satisfactory would be feedback was addressed and the changes have been somewhat successful.
That
Feels about right, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some really nice things to like about this.
Yeah.
But again, it just feels like is that they needed to really lean into their pillars much more. Really strong sense of what the game is. And it feels like because they had the kind of slightly weaker pillars, they weren't then able to reinforce those in the design.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, it's exactly what you're saying about the pillars. You know, we've got broadly claustrophobia and being hunted as the pillars. And I think the game is faster and the thing moved more successfully faster.
Yeah.
It would feel much more like running around a maze as opposed to sort of slowly...
That might be the difference between being hunted and being stalked.
Yeah,
Being stalked has a kind of feeling of like, it's like an it follows
like,
vibe,
like
right?
the claustrophobia thing, again, like if there were sections where it was narrow and you had to like stealth through a passage,
Yeah.
that, I mean...
Shall we move on to our next game?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the next game is Mind Blaster. So,
Okay, so I like the backdrop.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I like that all of the UI is very like tied together.
Yeah, so it's got its own look and feel, and
There's a volume button, which leads me to think that there is some kind of music.
Not any yet.
Can't hear it, but let's see. Okay, how many players on keyboard? Ooh, hello.
For
Multiplayer
controllers,
mode.
Press the south button. Right.
Don't if I do.
Well,
It's the south button.
now, interestingly, how many players on keyboard? 1 or 2. So if we try and add multiple controllers, are they going to let us have 2 controllers?
who knows?
Currently the answer is no controllers.
Well, I think you have to probably hit
Let's-
play.
Well, if we say 1 keyboard player, then it might accept a
How many
controller.
players on?
Oh, hello.
Controllers press the south button to join.
Hang on, there you go.
Right.
Now you've got 0. So.
Oh,
Can you not-
okay. Hang on. This is it's the A button. How many players on keyboard?
Well,
None.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
oh, there.
yes.
Okay.
we will
Okay.
leave it on 0 keyboard players.
Play.
So hang on, did you look at the controls?
No.
Good luck.
Why-
Right.
First
Alright.
player to score 5 points wins. Points can be earned by being the last standing in a round.
Shall we quickly check menu just so we get the actual controls?
Gamepad.
Mind and ability.
An ability and a movement.
What is ability?
That's a
Well,
very
we will
philosophical
find
question.
out.
Let's find out. Yeah.
Is
Right.
it?
Oh wait, got none on keyboard. None on keyboard. How do we do
Got
this?
no idea what type of game this is yet.
There we
I'm
go.
wondering.
I think we're sorted.
Like,
I was assuming it was a mining game.
Oh no, now there's only one player.
I was assuming bomber man.
Oh.
And it looks like,
It looks like you're right.
well, you've got a pickaxe at the top.
Certainly neither of the controllers are doing something. So we presumably have ended up with someone on
No,
keyboard.
you've basically asked Joshua to play the game. A war games reference.
I understand that reference.
Okay, so when you said 0 keyboard players, what you meant was 0 players.
0 players whatsoever.
Alright,
Right.
should
Should we kill it and try again?
Yeah.
Okay.
the only winning.
Another War Games reference.
Yeah.
That one I got.
He's-
I haven't even
he's-
seen the film.
He's all up with his contemporary references.
War is very contemporary, Dave.
If we make sure we get at least 1 keyboard player, then
Yeah.
we will be able to play the game even if we haven't figured out how to get controller support working. That does, of course, rely on the game loading.
Oh,
But
there we go.
we're going to play.
So we're going
We
to
are
play
going
with...
to say
Should we say 2 on?
Yeah.
2 on keyboard for now.
See,
So
I wonder whether you just say 2 and then you hit the button and you join as a controller, possibly.
Well,
maybe.
We tried these things.
Whatever.
I think. Yeah.
We'll come back to it after. So
Yes, it plays.
I'm on the right. I've got arrow keys //. You're on the left. WSAD FG.
FG.
Okay.
WASD FG.
So,
So. We've got 2
Okay.
people.
Oh, hello.
Right.
moving. There's a drill. Get the drill.
Oh, I
your ability.
I don't get to move.
Oh. Would you like to try controllers? It's not that controller. It's not that controller.
Let's press the south.
Haha. I'm going to successfully win this game.
You sure
By being
are.
the only person with any possibility of doing it. Oh!
Wow.
I'm
That's
going to
a thing.
shoot.
Wow.
Oh, that was a one-time use.
Ah.
I can't shoot you with that.
Good ability though.
Uh,
Okay. There is
There is a cooldown. It's up there. Okay, I understand now. TNT seems like a thing that would be beneficial to me.
Yeah.
So what
going
was
to-
the goal again?
Collect items.
Was it didn't it say to be the last player standing?
Get 5 points.
Oh.
I'm quite lost.
So
here.
something like that. No.
What? How did you just move?
Oh.
Draw. Okay,
That sure
the game
does.
is
How
kill
actually
each
don't
other.
kill each other?
Yeah.
You
Mind blast.
started right next to each other is a weird.
So hang on a minute. Right, give me the basics here. So you can move around. You can press your ability button to
To use
mine.
the item that you've picked up, and you
So-
can use the mine button to mine.
But so
Can
in the top
I-
right hand we've got the dynamite and we've got the pickaxe.
Yep. So pickaxe is your mine ability.
Right. So how do you toggle between mining and the other abilities?
You've got a button.
You only
Oh,
ever
you've
have
got
one
a button.
ability.
No, you've just got a button for mine and a button for use item.
Ah, okay. So you've got mine and these items.
Can you mine the other player?
Well, let's find
Like,
out.
do you have to have an item to kill them?
Yes, you do in fact need to do this.
So what happens when you run out of items?
Yeah.
When
Ah,
the
as
map
in, like-
has no items
yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
This is going
Right.
to be
We
easy.
need to try and find a way of getting this to work. That
Oh,
work?
that.
That just froze them.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like.
It knows that it must know that it knows I'm there. It's given me an icon. It would like, I think.
Yeah.
Should
But
we-
yeah,
should we
no.
Go back to the
Okay.
menu and just see if we can. One keyboard player, because presumably
Yeah.
there's
One on
either-
keyboard.
There's either an AI or
And then
Yeah, but then
I think this is what we did the first time, and
they've
it just
not got an
no
AI.
input at all.
yeah.
Nothing
They
on
they
that
chosen
controller.
that part of it, and also it looks like there isn't.
There isn't another player.
Also, in a one-player mode, neither WASD or arrow keys work.
Yeah.
Is it just that this is maybe a little bit unfinished?
I think possibly WASD don't work under any circumstance. And it's only when you hit the two-player on keyboard that it starts pulling arrow keys.
Mm.
I'm having a look at the notes.
So we didn't see this one in the lab. This is what the intended experience is.
So the only odd thing in here is that it's the description of the player is in the future tense. Players will be able to use the mechanics of the game to outplay opponents in satisfying ways.
And also meant for a minimum of 2, though the maximum capacity is much larger.
Doesn't look like it implements more than two
No.
players.
But also, it doesn't look like the.
That weren't achieved in the time frame.
Two or something.
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No controller. What do you have to play south? It said.
Yeah, they mean
Green
A.
is
Do they
the
mean A or do they
Deep.
mean down?
When it was to join press south, it was the A button did things, but I'm trying down as well.
I
yeah.
think I just selected the.
Controllers are all on and everything.
Yeah. Lights
I mean,
on.
they work for the tank game. I'm wondering whether or not the controller that the student has tested with has a different configuration to the controllers we're running, and this only works via D input or X input or whichever one we're not using. Or
It's
something
possible, but
complicated.
the mode control, but the settings sort of guidelines were for Xbox controllers.
Right. Which is what we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those watching at home, we are using Xbox controllers.
Okay.
It might just be that we just have to play it with what we see.
I think we have to play this as it is.
Oh,
And
notice how as soon as
is
I
it?
have no idea. This is a timer, I guess. But
Yeah.
also, when I picked up an item, a new item
a
spawned.
new item generated. Yeah, that answers Tom's question.
Although I
Okay,
can't
that's
pick up this
very
anymore.
cool. That's a nice bit of procedural generation that they were like, okay, you never want to run out of
So
items.
we've got a
that's
little
cool.
battle royale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually.
So I think we have to mark it as it is with just the one player,
Mm.
and it might be worth following up with them after this, so we'll see how it goes. So let's go through it. So we've got presentation up first. So that's the kind of the graphics, the audio, the information design. What do you think?
Simple, but it's pretty obvious that this thing's a TNT, this thing's a... Well, I thought it was a drill, but it's a laser drill.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
We love a laser drill.
Don't know what the heart does.
Extra 4 health.
Extra health.
Oh, there is health up there.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think kind of now I know what the icons are doing. Information design is actually not bad. You know, you've got the kind of...
It slightly annoys me that when you place TNT, it looks exactly the same as inert TNT before anyone's picked it up.
It really does need a fuse or something, doesn't it?
So that's a point, I guess.
They've got sounds.
They've got sound effects.
Sound
Have
effects.
some background music as well. But
Yeah. So I think in general, would you argue that it's sort of professional, complete and effective?
It's appealing. It's pleasing.
So we might say that some of the interaction and feedback things are. Well, I don't know. They've got that little frozen thing that comes up when you're frozen.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff's there.
I would say maybe...
I think that's fair. And then meaningful play, right? So obviously, this is interesting, right? Because it's multiplayer only.
Well, we can still look at like the mechanics that are available, the different items.
Yeah, I think we need to do that, and then we'll consider the multiplayer bit under the multiplayer criteria. So, describe it as challenging to play, playable, engaging, or fun.
It's certainly difficult to say in the sense that a lot of the fun is presumably going to come from the interacting with the other player, but I think broadly there's the scope for it. I can imagine that if the other player was frantically doing stuff on the other half of the map, I would feel like that was tense.
It might be helpful to look at the breakdown then, right? So a satisfactory would be a simpler game with fewer mechanics but usable to some minor bugs.
So in terms of the mechanics, it's move, place an item, use an item, which is the same, or mine. So there's not the craziest amount of mechanics. So I would say it's simple mechanics, but they do seem to be implemented well. Like Dan is here placing his items. They are doing things.
That's a new
That's
thing.
quite usable. Clause.
Anti-TNT.
I mean, a good would be reasonably complex game with multiple mechanics. Roles may still have minor bugs. Has this got enough mechanics to count up to a good? I think it just simply comes down to that. Is there enough elements to the gameplay?
It's several versions of destroy stuff, which is pretty reasonable. I need to find out what this thing does.
What does that do?
Oh, it makes me fast.
Oh,
That's kind
very
of cool.
So yeah.
I mean, it feels between the two.
What?
Because I think there's actually there's a reasonable amount of stuff going on, right? You've got kind of different types of power ups. You've got different kind of
You've got the Royale zone of death.
you've got the zone of death thing.
Oh, yeah,
So,
zone
I
of
think halfway between
Halfway.
satisfactory and good would be a good place. I get this one, the local multiplayer and the procedural generation. So
for local multiplayer,
let's do the multiplayer first. And
I think we just have to say it's absent because it's not working. We'll then follow up later and just make sure that's...
I think we. It feels like that we're not seeing the game properly, so we'll definitely follow up. But yeah, I think for now we have to say it's absent.
This is, just to reiterate, it's important.
Yes, that's right.
This
Yes.
is exactly why we have that, so people can show off their games with us
Yeah,
there,
and we can see
this,
it.
This is what it's supposed to look like.
And then when it performs weirdly, we've got a clue. Okay, well let's go on procedural generation because that is working. We can see what it's doing.
So in terms of it provides a play space,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's... I think it would be...
The whole point is
Yeah.
you get
It's
to
not-
make
if it
extra
just- If it
paths.
just filled everything with rocks, it would
It's
still
still
be
well
playable.
play. Yeah.
Which is fine. I like the fact that it's like if it notices you've run out of items, spawns an item. It's not the most the craziest sort of implementation out there, but that is effective, and it has created a play space. And to be fair, the designer has been smart in saying, okay, I've got this mining game. I'm going to procedurally generate rocks, and it's going to be the play space. It's like, yeah.
If it's good enough for Spelunky,
yeah. Spelunky and Stardew Valley.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm reading through their ProcGen description. And they're basically saying the map is procedurally generated, the abilities of weapons are procedurally generated, and they're saying they're made up of weapon which dictates the damage, and the type of weapon, placeable bomb or projectile, and the element, which is the effect.
Okay, yeah, the elements to make the changes, that is cool, yeah.
But there's nothing in here about trying to build something that's fun to play, trying to balance, trying to...
I think the key thing, right, is that items spawn on the map, and where they spawn is very relevant, because almost certainly whoever's closest to them gets them, and this means if you end up spawning them all next to one player, that player just wins.
Yeah,
and
the thing is...
there's nothing about...
The procedural generation really does need to make that work.
That's true, and we can't really judge if that is fair.
And situations like this, which actually we saw this exact configuration happen to start with. The fact that you both start in the same place, I mean, I guess you can't
the dead end,
hit them with a stick.
Yeah.
I can't hit you with a stick, but if you're there, you cannot leave. Also, eventually the timer's going to run out, and one of us is going to be in the middle of the screen. It's not going to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to some extent, we can't test this because we can't see if there's like an even spread. But in other ways, we can test this because there's that kind of thing happens, and that isn't the best implementation if that hasn't checked.
So a satisfactory would be a straightforward ProcGen that incorporates some effective rules that enable meaningful play.
Whereas a pass
play, because I think it comes back to what you said, Tom. It's about the sophistication. It doesn't need to be sophisticated, and it doesn't look like it's particularly sophisticated.
Yeah.
So, and there are no rules which determine kind of where to go in order to create interesting play experiences. So it feels to me
Didn't get that, did you?
like it's probably more like the pass level, right? Yeah. And it's not there. And I know passes in the majority of cases allows play, but I just think that a simple ProcGen is a better.
environments. Okay.
Yeah.
Hasty combat. From competition, which I think is a good update.
Yeah.
Building terrain.
Yeah. The environment is dynamic. You are changing it.
Yeah.
And objects and items spawn. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Good
the fact that you've got a kind of you have agency over the space around you. Hasty combat, fast-paced gameplay, balancing risk and reward very quickly. Timing and environmental awareness are important. Like the encroaching wall, forcing you closer over time. Well, it's hard to see because we can't actually see the combat. But I imagine that if you were playing this, the games would play quick and they end abruptly. So I kind of think they're probably
mining Fortnite. If it would be kind of like mining Fortnite if you could also place rocks, but you effectively
with
the blue dynamite that I just placed.
Yes, the blue dynamite does do that. Yeah.
Places.
So I actually think that, like, I'm genuinely a bit sad that the multiplayer isn't working because I think this actually would be really fun to play
I think
in a
it probably
competition.
would be quite fun to play.
Yeah.
So I think they've probably got that as well. As you said, not a great pillar. And then it changed to adaptive strategy.
And that one, I'm not sure how much strategy there is in a game like this.
Well, I think
much as beyond grab the nearest item.
I think they're misusing the word strategy.
Yeah.
So Because what they're basically saying
Get
is,
item throw, yeah.
since the weapons are randomly generated, players will have to adapt to whatever comes their way. What you got, basically.
Okay.
Play the card that's
I would
dealt.
argue that's more like adaptive combat.
Yeah, like sort of
Yeah.
tactics. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah, sure.
it's not a strategy thing completely.
No.
It says your playstyles will then fluctuate during the round as the map shrinks.
I still think that's maybe overselling it a tad, because
Yeah.
it's still a case of item throw item.
Yeah.
But you're right that you've got to, do you hold on to the ice dynamite until you can separate the other player from you? Do you use it immediately?
Well,
There's something there.
I think that what I really get it's not really strategic; it's tactical.
I think even tactical is a stretch.
All right. What's the word? Moment to moment. It's moment to moment play, right? So it's moment to moment play, and you have to be very responsive to what's in your immediate environment. So they're going for that kind of feeling of kind of constant flow, constant motion. So do you know what? I don't think they could have explained it a little bit better, but I don't think that far off from their pillars. Actually, they seem pretty good.
I sure did blow up dynamite right now.
Yeah, but it's the dynamite that goes in a cross pattern.
Oh, it's the straight lines dynamite.
Yeah, it's the straight lines dynamite. That one was.
So a good would be at least 3 pillars, describe the implications of play and design that have been followed and which give the game its character. I think they're kind of there.
Yes, if it were competitive. Yeah, I mean, yes, if the multiplayer worked, I think.
Excellent would be a distinctive character, and I'm not sure if it feels particularly distinct.
No, it's obviously heavily inspired by quite a few games.
Yeah. Good is probably where we are still.
Yeah. Brings us to feedback. So they say during the labs at the very start, a course mate pointed out their time use of procedure generation. Yeah, there's a reason that the module team are there in the lab session so that you can get feedback from us about. They generated, but as a result, they procedurally generated the.
Easy to generate the items themselves, but the problem is they don't really. What they end up with is kind of a matrix of different types.
They just have a lot of different items.
So it's like they've got maybe 4 different types, 4 different things, 4 different whatevers, and you end up with 64 possible items, right? But then they're not. I think their criticism is actually a good criticism, but what they're missing out on is what's the path to solve that criticism. And the path to solve that criticism was not add a bunch of just random stuff. It's like no, make it less random. Yeah. Make what you have more intentional.
Yeah. In fact, they actually go on to sort of talk about some of the issues with creative talking about what property should I make random? What if it's too unpredictable? Would players consider this unfair? So instead, they assembled pre-designed components. So they didn't. What they've got is the classic kind of. The classic grid. It's like a rock paper scissors grid of like different item types, and so it's not really procedural generation. It's just kind of systematic design. So I think the feedback is therefore a bit problematic, right? Because that's the only thing there. They have sought feedback, although it wasn't from the module team. So the feedback they got may not have been as helpful, and the way they've interpreted it, like you say, I think is sort of problematic anyway.
That was not addressed well, although some other positive changes have been made.
I do think it was a positive change. I don't think it was, but I don't think it was a great deal of interpretation, like you say. It wasn't from the.
Having a nice variety of weapons, definitely good. Does that respond to the feedback? Not really. But
so that brings us to the end of this game, and I think to the end of this video.
Yeah.
So we will see you at some point in the future for more videos.
Woo!